We have watched, Robin, this amazing development blossom down south of Bellevue called The Villages. I can remember the first time I heard about it, I drove in there and it was all under construction. Everything was just beginning. And then later on, we drove down it and it was like one side of the street almost looked like Disney. Remember that?
Yeah,
remember
I do. It was fabulous.
And now it's this amazing complex, and so many people have moved there. And not only are there people living there, but it's an active community. And they've got a really active arts community. Who hasn't heard of the Sharon, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that a little bit right now. The Sharon, is that my caller? The Sharon L. Morse Performing Arts Center. Whitney Morse is in the studio. I don't know if are you related to Sharon Morse?
I am. She was my grandmother.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Well, nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. And you are, according to Robin's note, the artistic director, do I say, for the Sharon and the studio?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. So we have so many questions and so little time to ask you. How are you?
I'm fabulous. It's a beautiful day in Central Florida.
Tell me about your grandmother.
My grandmother?
Yeah.
Well, she passed away when I was 18 in 1999, but she spent her life as a great patron of the arts and as well as a performer. She was a beautiful, beautiful lounge singer, and she exposed me and my cousins to the theater at a very young age. She took us to London when I believe I was about 10 or 11.
Nice.
And I saw my first West End show, which West End shows are basically England's Broadway.
Oh my gosh!
So
really?
Yeah, I saw Crazy for You, which is a Gershwin review, and
nice.
I fell in love. It was beautiful. And then a couple years later, she took us to New York to see Broadway shows. My first Broadway show ever was A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum with Nathan Lane.
Oh, funny
It was amazing. And she really, really stoked the fire in all of us for arts appreciation, not just the performing arts. She was a great lover of the fine arts, sculpture and painting and things like that. And, I miss her every day, but the best thing I can do to keep her memory and vision alive is to work at the Sharon and bring performing arts to our community.
Oh, wow. So tell me about the building that we call the Sharon. What did that start out as a theater?
It did in a way, in that it was a church, non-denominational church at first, called the Church on the Square. And a big central focus of the Church on the Square was music and performing. There would be concerts there on the weekends, lunchtime concerts. And about 3 or 4 years ago, the idea and the plan went into action to renovate the church into a performing arts center. So it went from a church that sat a couple hundred to now a 1,000-seat performing arts center. So
1,000 seats?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The church area, what used to be the church area, is now the lobby, and then we put the whole auditorium space basically right next to it.
Oh my gosh! All right, so we walked past one day. We went to see a movie at the movie theater next door.
The Rialto.
And we were going to walk in, and they said, "No, I'm sorry, they were just letting out or something. We just got there too late or whatever it was." But yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I'll have to.
Oh, you'll have to come on down.
I feel like I did walk in when it was a church just to see it, because it was kind of like. Walking into St. Patrick's in New York is like, I just have to see the building, Yeah,
and it was always open when it was a church. Yeah. But we do tours, so you can come on down and take a tour. Yeah.
So tell me about the studio. What is the studio?
So the studio, I lovingly refer to the studio as the Sharon's scrappy little sister, but it is a 99-seat black box space. So it's a very intimate space where we produce our own work. So at the Sharon, we bring in acts from the outside, Broadway tours, headliners, comedians, orchestras, things like that. Nice. But at the studio, that's where we produce our own plays and musicals. And we use local talent as well as talent from all over the country.
So are you one of the writers?
No, we usually, we haven't done anything original there yet. We usually get rights to already existing work.
Okay. Are you one of the actresses?
I am. I was in 3 of our shows this last season.
Neat. Okay.
Nice. Yep. I'll be in 1, probably 2 next season. We'll see.
so are the shows, explain the difference, artistically speaking, between what you do and what you might see at the Sharon.
Okay. Well, at the Sharon, my job at the Sharon is basically curating what our season will look like. I spend a lot of time looking at marketing materials for shows that come to us. We go to conferences in New York. We also go to a conference in the Southeast. It's called PAE. It's usually in this area or maybe in Atlanta next year, or this year, pardon me. And so I spend a lot of time looking at other acts, trying to decide what's going to fit in our space, what does our community want to see, also what are the things that I see that maybe they don't even know they want to see yet. You know, I try to really offer a lot of variety. Me and my team, we really, really work hard to say, okay, we want to make sure we get a really great international orchestra this year, and we want to make sure we hit modern dance and ballet and theater and concerts and everything. While at the studio, my job is similar in that I curate the whole season, but we're looking more toward what issues do we want to put into the minds of our community? The studio's mission,
okay.
The studio's mission is to inspire the residents of Central Florida to examine relevant issues through intimate and innovative storytelling.
Oh, nice.
So we do things that are a little edgier there, you know.
And what kind of messages would I expect to be exposed to?
Well, last season, our mission was, our theme was a model home, peer beyond the facade. So all of our shows from last year looked at families that from the outside looked perfect, but from the inside, if you could just look through the window, you would see how
very
hard,
wide, very smart,
how hard these characters are working to hold their lives together.
And
this next season, we're looking at commitment. So our theme is commit with abandon. What will you gain by letting go? So we have 4 shows that all look at different kinds of commitment. And, you know, I think a lot of times we look at commitment like thinking of what are the things I'm going to have to sacrifice to reach a goal. When sometimes commitment is actually very, very freeing when you really focus on one thing.
In a way, it's the mission of the church, is to kind of show us a little bit so that we can live happier lives. And that sounds like what you're doing.
Yeah, in a way, I really want people to leave the studio with something to chew on, something to think about. I want them in the car talking to their theater buddies about what they saw and what they think about it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it for me.
So are you here today to promote any specific program or just a group?
In general, I just want people to know about what we're doing at the Sharon in the studio. We're in the summertime, which is a little bit of a quieter time for us. So we're ramping up into the peak season that starts in about October, November. So I have studio shows. Our season for the studio has just been announced. We have Bad Jews, which is a comedy about your commitment to religion. It's very, very funny. We also have Frankie and Johnny and the Claire de Lune, which looks at more about commitment romantically. What starts as a one-night stand, will it turn into something or won't it? And that one has some adult content, not suitable for children, that one. Our musical this coming season is Company, and Company is by Stephen Sondheim, and it is very much looking at romantic commitment. The story focuses on a young man named Robert, who's 30, turning 36, and is still single. And he's turning to all of his married friends to figure out if marriage is really something he wants to do. And they all have differing advice.
I like that. It's like real life. That's how real life is, yeah.
It is. And we'll close out our studio season with Red, which is about commitment to your art and your creativity and your career path. It's a beautiful two-hander play about Mark Rothko, who was a very prominent artist in the 50s and 60s. He did those paintings where they would just be red. It would just be, the whole canvas would just be red, or there'd be a red cube over a black cube. It was very revolutionary at the time.
Yeah, I never get that kind of art. Do you get that?
I think you're supposed to not get it. You know,
really?
I think you're supposed to have a really open, emotional reaction to it. I don't.
We went, the Harn Museum in Gainesville?
Yeah.
We went to the Harn one time, and there was a canvas about the size of that section of wall, and it was all white, just like that wall. And it was called White. And I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a play written about that painting as well.
Is there really?
I think it's called Art. I think Art, in the play Art, they bring home a white canvas. And it's a prized piece of art.
So you have some, you told us some of your family history as to how you got involved into this and how your love for the performing arts came about. Do you attribute your love to anything besides your grandmother? Was it just something that naturally was part of you?
I think it was. My mother is a performer as well. She was also a singer. She still is a singer, but she is retired. She only sings at church and for free, sometimes for me. But she was a performer. But when I was about 11, I did my first community theater production in Claremont. I did Oliver. And I was in 6th grade, and I was very committed. I was cast as a young boy pickpocket and orphan.
Oh,
and
really?
I cut off all my hair. I mean, I went
really?
into it.
Wow.
So you got beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you. I cut my hair. I had a little bowl cut.
Oh, no.
Yes. It made me extraordinarily popular.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then that was it. After that, one show would lead to the next, and I ended up going to college and graduate school for theater, and worked in the theater for about 20 years now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
The interesting thing about the villages is that you have people who live there who lived somewhere else earlier in their lives. I mean, that's 90% of the cases, if not more, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so wherever they came from, whether it's Chicago or New York or somewhere else, they probably had this thriving art scene that they enjoyed.
Absolutely.
And so by you bringing that there, it seems to probably fill a gap that they were probably missing. And the rest of us benefit from it, whether we live there or not.
Yes, absolutely. I was honestly surprised when we put together the studio. I was just hoping that a couple people would show up every night. And it turned out to be this runaway hit. We sold out our season and our subscriptions in a couple of hours. We sold out our entire season. We had never an empty seat.
Really?
Every single seat was sold for a whole
wow.
first season. And everybody kept saying to me after the shows, because I was in 3 of them, and the one that I wasn't in, I was the dialect coach for, so I was around a lot. And they kept saying to me, "Thank you so much for bringing this here." And I was just astounded. And a lot of them were saying what you're saying. I used to live in Cleveland. Cleveland has a beautiful art scene. Or I lived in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Most people were coming from cities or mid-sized cities that all have a pretty thriving art scene.
Yeah,
So it really did fill a hole.
Wow. You're so energetic. I love your energy.
Oh, thanks.
So how do we stay in touch? How do we know what is going on down at the studio or at the Sharon? How do we know?
Probably the easiest thing is to check out our websites. You can get to either website from either website. They have little links in them. So you can go to thesharon.com.
That's easy. Okay.
Or you can go to thesharonstudio.com.
Oh, easy and easy. Okay.
Yeah, very, very easy. And we have some really fun programming coming up for the summer. At the studio, we have Songs for a New World, which is a song cycle by Jason Robert Brown. It's a really, really fun evening. It's basically a concert of Jason Robert Brown's music, but it all kind of goes along a theme
Wow.
of taking the leap.
Oh, very exciting.
What you do in those moments when you have to make a big life choice. Yours truly will be in that one if you'd like to come check it out.
I'm guessing, based on what you told us about your mother and grandmother, you're a singer.
Oh, I am. Yes.
Okay.
I consider my stock and trade as an actor because I have that's what my graduate degree is in acting. But I've been singing my whole life and studying privately, and I did both of the musicals last season.
Who's your musical influence? Is it Broadway? Is it pop music? Is it
A little bit of both. Growing up, I loved jazz singers. People like
Oh, you
Nancy.
look like you'd be you just have that look.
Oh, I thank you.
Doesn't you have that jazz singer look?
Oh, yeah, you do for
It's
sure.
my snazzy glasses.
Holding onto the microphone, and every man wants to be that microphone.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I do some cabaret singing as well. We actually have an event at the Sharon called Don't Tell Nani. Nani is what we called my grandmother Sharon. And it's an open mic event that I host, and I sing some of my favorite jazz standards and
neat.
Broadway show tunes.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice.
people can come up and sing anything that they have sheet music for. It's a really fun night.
Well, you just told me about something I didn't even know about, so thank you for doing that. And
Absolutely.
I'm hoping our listeners just became introduced to something that they will enjoy also. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Larry. I hope to come back soon.
That was fun. All right, we will take a little break, and we will be right back.